Here's an example of a problem with chain cutting. Chain cutting that is either jumping to the wrong side of the boundary or gouging into some part of it. It's generally something wrong with the geometry that causes this problem, but let's take this one from the start. Here we have a job where it's clear to see it machined nicely around this slot down here, but yet up here, trying to do this slot, it jumped right outside of the part here. And just in a look, everything looks good, but you have to dig deeper. And this is how I'd go about it. There's many different ways, but this is how I go about trying to solve these things when customers bring them to me. The first thing I always do with a job is I go back to the job processing, just look at what they have, just some chain cuts here, and I'll say reprocess, because I want to know that everything is exactly, that's the way it's all done in memory. There were no errors made during the process that got partially removed or changed. I want to know that this is where we're at. Start from a simple base point. So it's still not working right up there. Okay. The first thing I do is the filter bad geometry command. It's always the very first thing I do. Because when it comes to chaining, well, first let me just take all the entities. Okay, we're done. And when it comes to chaining, okay, a lot of people say, there's something wrong with the chain command. Something wrong with the chain command. Now, there can always be something wrong with the command. I would never deny that or never think that is impossible that that was what it was. But the concept, the principle behind the chaining is so simple. It's been like this since day one with the software, and literally since day one, every time someone says there's something wrong with chaining, I find there's something wrong with the geometry for whatever it's been now, 20 years. So it's always a good chance that it's probably the geometry. The filter bad geometry command is made just for that. It finds geometry that's a little chopped up, that doesn't quite meet at the ends here. That's why the forced endpoint match. Similar is the worst one, where you end up with like a line laying directly on top of the line, be it the exact same length or shorter. Which one are you, when you select it, which one are you getting? You don't really know. This deletes all of those, finds and fixes or deletes or whatever, all of those conditions. The only thing you usually want to do in here is say delete the original geometry. So that'll check it all, look for bad stuff, and get rid of all the original stuff. Okay, that filtered or checked all the geometry. Now let's just say reprocess again, see if it got any better. It got worse. Okay, but that's good because it still tells me that we know what we're dealing with. All right. So what I like to do many times is, instead of having to do the chain for the machining kind of in one shot, I use a similar chain command. I'll use the modify color. I'm just going to modify the color and do it by a chain. Modify color by a chain. So if I tell it to chain from here, notice it doesn't chain all the way around. It's stopped over here somewhere. I'll finish it and say turn that geometry to this dark purple here. Okay. And if I look, I can see that the chain only went to here. It didn't continue to go around here. Plus, I see this loop around here. This tells me pretty much here's where my problem's sitting, somewhere in here. You always want to deal with how something actually is, not just how it looks. All right? It looks pretty good in this, but if you kept zooming in, let's go in a little tighter. Ooh, starting to see a little something going on there. Let's zoom even tighter. Okay, now you can see we've got actually a few things going on. We've got this little line segment in here. Now these can come, a lot of people say, I didn't put that there. I don't know how that got there. These can come sometimes by Experimenting with a trimming command. Just start randomly clicking and say, you clicked 5 times, but only the last one did what you wanted. Well, maybe one of those other clicks did something tiny like this and you didn't notice. There's always ways that you could introduce geometry like this if you're importing geometry from somewhere else. All kinds of systems have ways to introduce problems like this. Let's just go over how to fix it. Again, there are probably a couple of ways. I'm going to take what comes to me. I'm going to say I want to modify. I want to say I want to erase. And for that little entity, instead of trying to pick it, because that's a tough one to pick. We're zoomed in so far, and you got that circle, you got the line, you got a lot of things there. I'm going to do just a window and put a window around, which zeroed in on that guy. Done. It's okay. Get rid of it. All right, so that's cleaned off. Now I'll come over to this guy and use the, I'll do it from here, do the trimming. We can do the easy trim. And just come over here and pick that guy. That trimmed it back to here. Okay, done. Zoom extents again. And all right, let's just run the toolpath again, see what happens on that. There we go. Now the toolpath ran fine on that one. And the toolpath, I believe that looks good on that one around there. So that was the whole problem, that tiny little bit of extra geometry that was laying up on the corner there. That's how you go about hunting it down. Okay, good luck.